Happy Sunday. It's Renita Alexander, the leadership locksmith here with Set It Up Sunday. I'm looking for the live on my phone. Here we go. I see it. So it's there. If you're joining us live, please say hello. Just let me know that you are here. And Happy New Year. I know it's over a month. We're over a month in, but this is the first live, my first live in 2020. So I pray that you are finding your footing, your equilibrium as year 2 of this pandemic comes to a close. Again, just say hey in the comments. Let me know what you're doing to celebrate Black History Month. I'm going to share some things that I'm doing toward the end of our little conversation here. Thanks to all of you who voted on our start time. 7:30 had the most votes, so that's why we're here. That's why we're starting at 7:30 Central Standard Time. And again, this is Set It Up Sunday. Now, this was my weekly conversation lesson, whatever you want to call it, of ways to set yourself up for success in whatever way you define success. Now, you may have noticed I haven't done this in a while. Like I said, this is my first one of the year. In fact, I haven't been as active on the Leadership Unlocked page, and that was deliberate and then necessary. So back, toward the end of last year, December, I deliberately slowed down after a very successful conference that I did with the women of Moxie, which is a group that I've been involved with for about 6 years. I followed that with my second master class, and all of that left me pretty drained. So I decided I would just kind of take it slow it down just a little bit. And I'd actually planned to talk about what I was doing to give myself some rest, give myself a break during my last scheduled Set It Up Sunday. But then the Saturday before that scheduled live, which again, I usually do on Sundays, I had one of the scariest episodes I have ever had in my life. It was at the end of a day spent doing, things that I really love doing. I'm a part of a mentoring group, and we had a really great mentoring session. I had an opportunity to participate in a podcast with other women leaders talking about leadership. And at the end of that very, very busy day, I was sitting in my living room talking to one of my sorority sisters. Again, just enjoying, the end of my day, when all of a sudden I started to feel dizzy and nauseous. I realized immediately that I couldn't stand up. So I crawled to my fireplace to turn that off. I have a gas fireplace, which is actually behind me. I don't know if you can see it. I opened up some windows just in case I had a gas leak or something was going on with that. Waited for the violent spinning to subside. And when it didn't, I called 911. Now, here's some things I'm grateful about with that episode. First of all, I'm still here and I can talk about it. The response after I called 911 was pretty quick. I got a pretty thorough care, pretty thorough examination. And I have great insurance, so I wasn't stressed out about that. They kept me overnight I was at Northwestern, so they kept me overnight. And by the time they discharged me, all of the symptoms I was having had subsided. My blood pressure had shot up, so that was back to normal. I was able to, the dizziness had subsided. I was actually able to hold my head up, which I hadn't been able to do for about 4 or 5 hours. And the initial diagnosis was vertigo. But my doctors want to make sure that's what was going on. So I just had an MRI a few days ago, and my prayer is that There's an accurate diagnosis that will lead to a treatment plan that ensures that won't ever happen again, because again, that was pretty scary. Of course, in the meantime, I've done my own research, because we do have the internet, and we all like to find out, okay, what does this really mean? And I rediscovered that, again, and I knew this, that so much of what ails us really just comes down to us taking better care of these magnificently complex vessels that house our souls, house our personalities, house our very essence. And one of the things I had to admit to myself, I had not been doing, all the things I needed to do to stay healthy. I was doing too much of, the working, and just doing too much of a lot of things, and not doing enough to stay healthy. And then last week, I shared, some things that you might be, that might be signs of you overworking. Now, my excuse is I was participating in a business mentoring program, and I was excited. And when you're excited about something, I'm sure I'm not the only one that this has happened to. Be it a new project, a new job, a new enterprise, whatever it might be, it can keep you running on all cylinders, and your adrenaline can keep you pushing ahead. So you can push past pain, push past exhaustion, push past what you know you need to be doing. But sometimes you push too far. And again, I shared an article that I found that was just really spoke to what kind of was happening with me, especially about that level of excitement and adrenaline that kind of sometimes can keep you moving forward when you actually maybe should be slowing down. So anyway, some of the signs that I shared, and I'm going to just speak to each of those. The first one that I shared was you stop taking care of yourself as a sign that you might be overworking. And here's a truism that I've discovered more than once, that when we most need to do the things that will keep us sane and healthy, we convince ourselves that we just don't have time, right? I'm sure I'm not the only one that's done that. So I usually, as when I'm kind of in a normal mode, I give myself a couple of hours in the morning for me. That may include some prayer, some meditation. I write in a gratitude journal. Sometimes I read. A lot of times I just write. I just kind of write and let the words come, and I don't really try to edit. And I was doing some of that, but it was more, to be honest, I was checking a box. I really wasn't really kind of immersing myself, letting my mind turn off, because I was thinking about what I needed to be doing. So I wasn't really giving myself that time. And then all the other things that I do to take care of myself, which are also included in this list, is I wasn't sleeping. My sleep was totally out of whack. Now, I have never been one of those people that slept well. But this was really huge for me. And contrary to what you may have heard, you don't need less sleep as you get older. As you get older, you may have a harder time falling asleep or staying asleep, or going back to sleep if you wake up. But none of those things mean you need less sleep. You still need sleep to function. And if you are thinking about everything that you need to be doing, you may not sleep well, you may not stay asleep, or maybe you're not going to bed early enough. Maybe you're skipping meals. That's another thing. You're skipping meals, or maybe you're not eating enough. Now, for me, I live downtown in Chicago. I can get some pretty quality food just by picking up the phone. But I found that I wasn't hungry a lot. And a lot of that had to do was because I wasn't sleeping. And then I really wasn't working out in the way that my body is used to. So, which is another thing that is a sign that you may be overworking. I was not getting enough exercise to kind of balance what I was going through, some of the stress or what my body was used to. Now I'm the exercise queen. I'm the quintessential gym rat. I even became a fitness instructor and certified personal trainer post retirement, but I had stopped teaching fitness classes because of COVID. And a year, into COVID, I was really having a hard time getting motivated to work out because I didn't have access to a lot of the things that I had access to previously. And I was kind of getting tired of those at home workouts, and so I wasn't, and I was tired because I wasn't getting enough sleep. So I wasn't getting enough of, the exercise that I know I needed. One of the other things, I didn't really have an issue with this, and that is, you're turning to substances like drugs or alcohol, because you're maybe feeling overwhelmed. Now, I've discovered as I get older, I cannot drink. So this was not a huge issue for me, but I know for a lot of people, you turn to alcohol, or sometimes, we'll have alcohol to help us sleep. And that may make you sleepy in the short term, but in the long term, alcohol actually disrupts your sleep. Another thing that may be a sign that you're overworking is you're neglecting important relationships and missing out on crucial social time. Now, when you combine, maybe overworking with what's going on with the pandemic, yeah, this could, be happening. I think that's what happened to me. I was spending some time on some primary relationships or even some work relationships, but missing out on maybe the casual relationships, the folks that you see at the gym or wherever you get your coffee. And so I was kind of missing out on those things to kind of balance everything else that I was going on, that I had going on. Now, before I get to some ways to cut back, what are some ways that you have found help you stay on track and to make sure that you're not doing too much? So just comment in the chat, comment in the comments, if you would. Hola, Christina. All right. So, yeah, here are some tips that I found that can help you make sure you can continue to do what you're supposed to be doing. These are the things that have helped me. Now, I ask this question a lot. I talk about balance. I talk about equilibrium a lot. And I'm not going to use those words because what I have found is sometimes you just need to, sometimes you're going to be out of balance. Some aspect of your life is going to take up more attention than other, aspects of your life. And that just happens. So, I'm not going to really talk about that. But what I do want to talk about, and I do talk about this a lot, is number one is prioritizing yourself. Now, you've heard this. You've heard, you can't pour from an empty cup. Put your mask on first. They tell us that when we're flying. Put your mask on first before you try to assist someone else. And that is because we cannot do anything for others unless we are healthy and whole, unless we've taken care of ourselves. So make sure you're prioritizing you. The second thing is to make sure that what you're doing is in alignment with what God's plan is for you. And just because it's close to what you're doing doesn't mean it's in alignment with what you're doing. So ask. Making sure that can be a part of your prayer, making sure that what you're doing is in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing. And then if it's not, just say no. Now, no is a complete sentence. You don't even have to offer an explanation. Depending on the relationship, you might want to offer that explanation. But here's the thing. If you're doing things that you're not supposed to be doing, it's going to eat at you. It's going to it may even strain the relationship with the person that you're doing that thing for. So, just say no. The fourth thing is figuring out how you can turn off that adrenaline that I mentioned earlier, and then do that consistently. So for me, it's been really establishing and sticking to a bedtime routine. So, making sure that every liquid that I'm going to drink, I've had by 8 o'clock. So I've got about 15 more minutes if I'm going to have any more water or anything else. And making sure I'm not on my screen at night. So I pulled out, I'm actually reading The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson, who also wrote Cast. And so I'm reading that. I have a hard copy of it. So that's what I'm reading at night versus something electronic that is going to sort of disrupt the light pattern that can disrupt your sleep. So I'm trying to really, be accountable to myself to stick to that plan. And then I've also set up some accountability partners. So it's a one thing to plan, which is what this whole Set It Up Sunday is about, is setting up yourself for success. But sometimes you need somebody that's going to help you be accountable so you can stick to whatever your plan is. Okay. Making sure that you can do what you're supposed to do, may require more than a massage or a pedicure or a girls' night out. Those things can be fun, and that can be a part of that, making sure that you're maintaining the relationships. But, sometimes it takes a little bit more than that. And so that's what I'll be talking about for the rest of the month. Just, making sure you're in alignment and not overdoing what you making sure in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing and not overdoing it. Okay, so I had asked if anybody had any things that they did. I'm not seeing any comments in the chat. If you have anything that you want to share, also if you are doing anything special for Black History Month, please share that so that if the other folks that are watching live or watching later can have that information. Thank you so much, Christina and Vonda, for joining live. I just want to offer, I have seen so much quality programming for this Black History Month, but one of the things that I am really, really enjoying right now was recommended to me by one of my sorority sisters, and that is the master class that is being offered by Amazon Prime. And so you've got Cornell West, you've got Nicole Hannah Jones, you've got Angela Davis, just to name a few. And it's magnificent. I just finished episode 3, and I learned some things. I had some ideas crystallized for me. I, was given some words by Nicole Hannah Jones that really just, sort of gave me a formula for things that I already believe, but now I kind of have the words in a way that I didn't have before. So, if you are, doing anything special for Black History Month, Mia shared that one of the ways that she makes sure that she is staying on track is having a nighttime routine. And so, yes, I again, that's been my thing, because again, the sleeping is the biggest thing for me and affects so much of the other things that I do. So Mia says going to bed at a certain time with specific tasks. Yes, like washing your face, yes. Oh, Mia, that, what I found is if I haven't done all of the things that I'm supposed to do, I can't rest. And so, I mentioned making sure I've turned my water intake off. I'll actually probably go put my pajamas on, brush my teeth, wash my face. That way it's done. And if I'm in the bed and I'm reading and I get sleepy, I can just go to sleep. And so, yes, that is a great way to make sure that you are getting that rest. And that is, Mia, I might need to ask you to be my accountability partner. We might need to check in just to make sure we are actually doing that. Or since you are doing that, you can make sure that I'm doing that on a regular basis. So yes, Vonda is making sure that she is getting vitamin D so that she has good sleep. That's a good one. I usually take any vitamins I'm going to take in the morning, but I may look into that as a way to make sure that I am doing some cherry juice, which has melatonin naturally. So I've been doing that at night to make sure that I have that, uh, and I'm not having to take a melatonin supplement. All right, these are great suggestions. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much for engaging. We're at 20 minutes, and so I usually try to keep this to around 15 minutes, but I wanted to make sure that I acknowledged what was shared by our folks that are actually watching. So I'm going to be here next Sunday. I'll be here next Sunday. Black Restaurant Week, February, starting tonight, starting today. Yes, started today. So through the 20th. Yes, I'll be doing that too. Mia, thanks for that plug for the Black owned restaurants here in the Chicagoland area and the suburbs. Okay, so I will be here next Sunday, same time, 7:30 Central Standard Time. I'm going to continue this discussion of making sure that we're on track, making sure that we're taking care of ourselves, that we're resting so that we can do the things that we are called to do. You guys have a great rest of your evening. Thanks again for joining me, and I will see you next week.